I wanted to come on here and share my story with loss, meaning my son's death. The reason why it's taken me so long is because oftentimes you just don't have the right words to say, and that's because there's no such thing. There are no words. There are no words that, you could use to describe the actual pain. So it's been a journey. My son Nathan passed away February 5th of 2018 at the age of 2 days old. So I wanted to tell his story because he is a million times the reason why I am who I am and why I strive to be better, why I wake up in the morning, why I get out of bed, why I choose to persevere. He is the sole reason. So just a little backstory. I got pregnant when I was 21. I was very young. But my son's dad and I were just over the moon, ecstatic. We were scared, so scared. I can't even tell you how big my eyes got when I saw those two lines on that test. But we were very excited and he was very much wanted. So my pregnancy was uneventful for the first 20 weeks or so. I didn't get sick. I obviously was really tired, but he was just such an easy little guy in there. So when I hit about 27 and a half weeks or so, almost 28 weeks, I was at work and I took my blood pressure and it was over the roof high, like 160 over 100 or something like that. I don't remember the first exact reading, but it was really high. And I worked in the OBGYN department, so I knew that was not normal, not okay, need to get that checked out now. So I called labor and delivery and they had me go in to get checked out. Since I was still really early on, preeclampsia wasn't really, it's really rare to get preeclampsia that early in your pregnancy. It happens, but it's not very common. So they took my blood pressure, they admitted me for a few hours, kind of watched Nathan on monitors and things like that. He was doing very well. So they let me go home after the night. They had me thinking that I was about to get induced at 27 weeks. I would have had a very premature baby, and that was really scary. But after watching me for a little while, they let me go home. So I was then put off work that early in my pregnancy, which was pretty crazy. And it was not ready to go off of work yet, but it is what it is. So after that, I had pretty much weekly checkups to make sure that my blood pressure was in control. Mind you, they didn't feel the need to place me on medication, which I'll never understand why, but I went back and forth to labor and delivery 4 times within the next 3 weeks. I was going once a week pretty much with high blood pressure. I was calling all the time, still going to my appointments. At that point in time, I had no idea that I had severe preeclampsia, because the doctors were telling me that it was fine. It was probably just nerves, things like that. I knew in my heart that I wasn't nervous. My blood pressure could not have been 172 over 105, just because I was nervous. So I would go spend the night, they'd send me home. Finally, on the 5th time, I was 31 weeks exactly, and my blood pressure when I got there was 197 over 112. Anyone who knows anything about blood pressure, not only in a average person, but in a pregnant woman, knows that is extremely dangerous. So finally, they admitted me, told me that I had severe preeclampsia, which, all the signs pointed to that much earlier. So I was admitted I was going to stay in the hospital for the remainder of my pregnancy. Since my preeclampsia was so bad, they were going to induce me at 34 weeks and I would have a premature baby, but that was totally fine because I would have a healthy baby in the end. So I was there for a few days. I was getting poked and prodded like so much. I on the 5th day, I was 31 weeks and 5 days pregnant, and my son's father told him, go ahead and go to work. It's, you got to go to work. There's no point in you staying here with me. Nothing's happening. So he left to work, and he worked probably like 40 minutes away at the time. And a little bit after he left, I started feeling like pain, like cramps. And it was just not normal. I don't know, because I've never, I had never given birth before. I had never really had contractions. I wasn't sure what was going on. I waited a few minutes to see, I walked around for a minute and, waited a few minutes because I was like, it's probably, I'm pregnant. Like, hello. Then I called the nurse because I was like, yeah, no, this isn't right. It just, like, it hurts, and I'm uncomfortable, and I just need to get, checked out. So the nurse came in. I told her what was going on. They were trying to hook the baby up onto the NST, which, many of you guys who've been pregnant before know that those are the two monitors that one watches for uterine contractions. The other one watches for heart rate accelerations in the baby when they move and whatnot. 5 minutes passed and they still could not find him on the monitor. But they were still so convinced that, oh, he's just moving around. Oh, that little stinker. Oh my God. And me sitting there like, yeah, he's just moving. I know he wasn't moving. Doctor came in and did the ultrasound and said, no, he's fine. Heart rate's 150. He was even trying to find him on the NST, which that was another like, oh, cool. Oh, heart rate's 150. But wait, why can't you find him? So not once in this entire time did I advocate for myself or for my child, because I didn't know. I had no idea. So, doctor leaves and says, okay, nurses, go ahead, keep trying. And that just is baffling to me, because it's like, okay, wait, heart rate's 150, but you can't find him on the NST. There's 2 nurses on top of me. You try to find him on the NST, and still you can't find a heartbeat. It was a lot. So a couple minutes passed by, which, mind you, this is all time that is just passing by. And another doctor comes in with an ultrasound and says, hey, I heard you guys couldn't find, the baby on the NST, so I just want to do another ultrasound. And at this point, the nurses are like, oh no, doctor blah, blah, blah just came in, and heart rate's fine, it's 150. And even at that point, I was like, oh yeah, he just came in. Being wheeled in to an operating room by yourself, with feels like 50 people around you, screaming code C, hearing it over, the overhead, having your clothes ripped off from you, and, them shoving a mask over your face because it's that much of an emergency C-section that they don't even have time to numb you. You just go to sleep. The trauma and the PTSD that I experienced from that it's insane. I sometimes, before I go to bed, or when I wake up in the morning, or when I have dreams, I think about not knowing what was going to happen to me or to my son. So that is something that I deal with every single day. And, this doctor, had it not been for her, I don't think that I would have got the time with my son that I did. So, sorry. I'm really grateful for her for that. But, from the time that she said, okay, his heart rate is 40, until the time that I got to that OR and had a mask shoved over my face, that was probably maybe 4 to 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. So, when I started getting sleepy, which again, that only takes a few seconds, she grabbed me by my shoulder and said that she was going to take care of me. And that, yeah, but she never told me that she was going to take care of my baby. He was in the NICU, and I woke up and I called my family. Oh my God, hey, guess what? I had the baby. Mondo was texting me like, oh, he's, I'm here with them, and just things like that. I had zero idea what was going to come. All I knew is that he was alive. And so I was then at that point like, great, like, all right, like, I had my baby, it's okay. He's premature, he's 31 weeks and 5 days. So I just had no idea. So, I was on magnesium before I had Nathan. So, they weren't really allowing me to walk, or, I was supposed to be bedridden, and I was on a lot of medication because magnesium, is what they give to you when you have preeclampsia and when your baby is premature. Or actually, I'm not really too educated on that. That's something that they give to you, in the hospital when you're pregnant and you have preeclampsia. That's as much as I know. But it makes you feel literally like you got hit by a truck. Like you're dizzy and you're hot, and it's, an awful feeling. But that night, mind you, I woke up maybe 9 or 9:30. Anyway, when I was on magnesium, they pretty much told me that I wasn't going to be able to see him until the next day, just because safety reasons, whatever. But then, and at first I said, okay, that's fine. Like it was already nighttime. I could wait until the next morning. It's fine. But then a doctor came in and explained to me that my son was not doing well. That first night, she said that there's like a 50-50 chance that he'll survive. And when I heard that, you're telling me that there's a 50% chance that he could die. Like, I remember telling Mondo, I was like, I can't meet him. Like, I can't meet him because then I'm going to fall in love with him. And then I'm going to have to say goodbye. And I just felt so weak, and I couldn't do it. And he told me it's okay, it's fine. He, not once did he try to talk me into it. He was just being so supportive. So I'll forever be grateful for that. But it's so weird because they told me he was gonna die, and then they told me that I couldn't see him because I was on magnesium. And it's like, okay, hold on a minute. You're telling me that I can't see my son? Bullshit. So I went over to the NICU, even though they told me I couldn't. And I sat there and I met my son for the first time. And the things that I was robbed from, being able to put your baby on your chest after they're born, spending, just spending that time with them when they're first born, that time that you are always told is so important, with skin to skin and things like that. I never got to do that with him. So, sitting there looking at my son in a box that's just, something that I feel like I'm not going to come back from any of this, but that was really hard. And I was on a lot of medication. So I remember I held him for the first time, and that's about all I remember, is holding him and having my head roll back and like falling asleep because I was just so exhausted. And, I lost a lot of blood, from everything that happened. And I felt so bad because I couldn't even hold him. So I remember saying, okay, like, I think I need to go lay down because I'm falling asleep and I don't want to drop him. He's connected to all these tubes and cords, and he's got, little wires coming out of his head, and he, like, isn't moving. And we had no idea. We were waiting for testing to be done, and like neurological testing, and just to see if there was any like activity in his brain and things like that. So I went back to my room, and the doctor that delivered him, that saved my life and gave me the time with him that, I was so fortunate enough to have, came back in and said, I want to just explain to you what we think happened. And she said, it looks like you had a placental abruption. And placental abruptions, although are not common, a lot of people walk around with partial placental abruptions and can still deliver vaginally and, things. Your placental abruption was a complete separation, meaning the placenta was 100% detached from the uterus. Also meaning that my son was suffocating because he was cut off of his oxygen supply. And that was due to having severe preeclampsia that went pretty much undiagnosed for 3 weeks. So the next day comes, and, we were having family come in, and people were meeting him, and that's the day where we were told that he had no brain activity. And the doctor that told us that was just so heartless. Oh my God, she straight up said, your son is brain dead. You should just take him off life support. And at first, Mondo and I looked at each other, and no, we're going to do everything we can for him. There's no way. Like, why? He's still breathing. He still has a heartbeat. All of the denial and everything had set in. And so we absolutely were, not taking him off life support. You guys are crazy. So the day went on, and he just started to look different. And he was, his feet were getting swollen, and he started to shake. And so that's when they told me that he was having seizures, and he wasn't responding to pain. Like, they could poke him, and he was completely not responsive. But they said that he did have a little bit of brain activity when he was having seizures. So that means that he was having pain when the seizures were happening. So at that point, we decided that we couldn't put him through pain, and that we would take him off life support, because as selfish as I wanted to be in order to keep my son here, and as a parent, you will do anything for your kids. I was willing. I didn't care. I'd feed him. I would, take care of him until I died. And I didn't care if he was in a wheelchair. I didn't care. I didn't care, because I wanted to keep him here with me. And then I realized that me being selfish was not worth robbing my child and making him have a life where he was a vegetable. They told me that if he did make it, which he probably wouldn't have made it much longer than he did, but they told me that if he did make it, he would be wheelchair bound, probably have cerebral palsy, a lot of brain damage because of the fact that he went without oxygen for so long, probably blind, wouldn't be able to ever eat on his own, would not be able to talk. So what kind of life is that for my son? I couldn't imagine having a child that couldn't even tell me when something or somebody was hurting them. And as a mom, that is petrifying. It's absolutely petrifying to not know, anything about your child, basically. So, we made the decision to take him off life support the following day, which was February 5th, and that was a Monday. So that day, so that day we gave him a bath, and we had family come and basically say goodbye to him. He was baptized. We got to read books to him, and we just tried to fill his day with as much love as we possibly could. So later that evening, they explained the process to us, and it was just me and his dad, and they put us in a room that had like a bed, and the lights were dimmed, and it's where you go to sit with your child while they die. And they took him, off all of the cords, and they brought him to me. And it was the first time that I had seen him with not one cord on him, no breathing tube. And we got to dress him, and so they brought him back to us in a little dinosaur onesie. And this was at maybe like 9:00 when they brought him to us. And they said he probably wasn't going to live very long. They said he, may die right away. He actually stayed with us until 11:57. So he did live for, a few hours after they withdrew life support. So we listened to music with him. We talked to him. We explained to him that it was okay to go. That we wouldn't be mad, we would be okay. And just told him how much we loved him. And the doctor came in, like I said, and confirmed at 11:57 that he was no longer with us. So I held my dead baby in my arms, and he was just the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful thing that I have ever had, the opportunity to lay my eyes on. He's just, after he died, he was so peaceful. And to know that he wasn't in pain anymore and that he didn't have to suffer that was the most selfless decision that I've ever had to make. And it's been 3.5 years since then, and there's 0 days that go by where I don't think of him or where I don't miss him. And when he was dying, I promised him that I wouldn't let anyone forget about him. And I'm never going to let that go. I will never, ever break my promise to him. And this is why I post about him every day, or this is why I post about him often. This is why I talk about him every single day. This is why when people ask me the uncomfortable question, oh, is that your only one? Or, oh, how many kids do you have? I have 2. And until I have another, then I'll have 3. And maybe if I have another, then I have 4. He will never not be included. And I get, some people look at me wrong when I bring his urn to, family photos or really important events or vacations or things like that. And that's fine. You don't understand, and that's okay. I
would never want anyone to understand the pain that my family and I have had to go through. So Nathan would have been, around 3.5 right now. And since then, he does have a little brother named Anthony who brought meaning back into my life. And he would just, I know Nathan would be just, he would love his brother. I know he loves him, but had he been here, they would have been best friends. And kills me all the time that not only was I robbed of everything with Nathan, but now Anthony is robbed of having a big brother, to teach him things and to look out for him and someone to confide in if he feels, ever feels like he can't tell me or his dad something. And this is my life. Every single day, this is the life that I live. But I'm here to tell you that yes, it hurts, and it will never not hurt. It hurts every single day, but I am in so much better of a place now than I was back when it happened. And if a mother who's grieving the loss of her child is telling you that it will get better for you and that not every day is dark and that you can look up and see sun instead of the clouds and rain and thunder and lightning, then it's true. If there's something that you're going through that you think that you can't make it out, I'm here to tell you that you can. And I'm not one to sugarcoat things and tell you that I don't struggle with depression or anxiety or PTSD, because I do. I have days where I wake up now where I feel like I can get a full breath in and I feel like I'm not completely drowning in grief. So, I mean, it's a work in progress, as I know a lot of you guys, your lives are work in progress, but I am here to tell you guys that although grief and pain, time doesn't heal everything. Time does not. And the reason why I say that is because, again, it's been over 3 years and it still hurts every single day. But what I will tell you is that the pain gets easier to live with. You don't have to forget about the person that you lost. You could post about them as much as you want. Who cares what people say? Who cares what people think? Because I'm sure that there are people out there that are like, oh my God, she needs to just get over it, or she needs to let him rest already. You don't get to tell me how I choose to grieve. And the one way that I choose to grieve is by talking about it and by posting about it and by making sure that I keep my son's memory alive. Because the opportunities that I get, every opportunity that I get to talk about the both of my kids, I do. So, yeah, I guess I just wanted to let you guys know that this is my story. This is Nathan's story. And I am in the position now where I feel like I can talk about it and where I want to raise awareness. I want people to be able to advocate for themselves when they're, in the hospital, or advocate for yourself in general everywhere you go. It doesn't just have to be in healthcare. If you think that something is not right, you stand up for yourself. Advocate. If you see anything that you don't like or something that is unethical to you, advocate. Because there are some people out there like me that weren't informed enough. And had I advocated for myself and for my son, he'd probably still be here today. And yes, I do go back and forth where I blame myself and I do the what if. What if I had just told him that he wasn't moving? What if I had told him earlier that I was having pain? What if I screamed at them and told them to get him the fuck out? He would still be here, right? well, you know, that doesn't do any good because there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But use me as an example and advocate for yourself, advocate for others, stand up, because there's some people out there that can't. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to talk about both of my kids equally. Thank you so much to the people that support me and who let me know how strong I am, and just the feedback and the support is so amazing, and I will eternally be grateful for that. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to Nathan's story, and I have so much more coming to my life, and I can't wait to share it with you guys all.